This show is brought to you by Victor Nawrocki Realtor, experienced real estate agent serving Disney and the greater Orlando area of celebratingflorida.com. Have you ever dreamed of living where the magic happens? Victor Nawrocki has made that dream come true for himself and others. One of the biggest decisions you'll make when considering a move is selecting a realtor who can successfully match you with the right home in the right location at the right price. If you're looking to buy or sell in the Orlando area, here's why Victor is the realtor you'll want in your corner. Victor knows the Disney area like the back of his house. By creating a free, no-obligation account on his website, celebratingflorida.com, you'll unlock the website's full potential and be able to enter specific criteria, save listings, and browse new properties sent to your email. Is it time to follow your dream? Victor is looking forward to helping you discover the real estate opportunities that are right for you in this beautiful and fun-filled part of Florida. Visit celebratingflorida.com today or view Victor's view at victorsvista.com and let Victor know the Solo Show sent you. We're back! Broadcasting from the Solo Studios, located in the home gardening section of your local By and Large discount location here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, the center of North America, on this little planet we call Earth. This is the Solo Show. On this adventure, Stan has the cure for the rising cost of traveling to all the Disney destinations as he welcomes Dan Hansen to the guest host chair. This might be the most important show we've done to date, so make sure you stay right to the end to find out just exactly how these cost-saving tips can get you essentially a free trip to Disney. So now, please welcome your host, a man who has opened his heart to all of us. See what I did there? Here's Stan Solo.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Solo Show. We're back! We've been gone for, 2 years it feels like. It's been forever since we've done a solo show. And joining me today is my good friend of yours, Dan Hansen from the Grand Circle Tour podcast. Dan, how are you doing?
Stan Solo, how are you today? I am so excited to finally be a full episode co-host for this podcast. I've been waiting for a long time to be invited. You know that.
I know we've been trying to make this work. You were kind of on our last one, on our show number 50, but I mean, you were, but it was ensemble. It was everybody was on that.
It was everyone. I like the spotlight. I want to be on just me and you, full solid hour, just the two of us. I mean, rating's going to be through the roof,
Oh, for sure. Has to be. And we've got a great show. Like, this is going to be amazing. I don't know about you. I know you were doing your research as well for this.
Yep.
But, I studied like crazy for
it's been about 2 months in the making of me going through and finding some of these facts.
And for those of you that don't know, voiceover guy Ken, he had open heart surgery. I saw him a couple of days ago. He's looking so much better. It was hard to tell. He had a mask on, dark glasses, and a hat, which is a great look for him. He looked good like that, I gotta say. But he's looking really good. He popped into the store to say hello to everybody, and so we're all happy that Ken's doing well, and we're back. The Solo Show's back.
Great news. Ken's a great guy. He does work for us on the Grand Circle Tour podcast as well. So we wish Ken all the best. And I was getting worried there for you, Stan, because Ken is becoming the star of the show. And have you ever worried about him like taking over the show one day? That may happen.
Well, you know what? Okay, I listen to the beginning of the show, and then I know everything's good. And I don't listen to the ending ever, because I trust Ken. He's not going to mess it up.
You don't listen to the ending of your own show? Well,
no. I like to listen to Ken at the beginning, and I listen to the first 3 minutes, and then that's it. I don't listen to any more of it usually. I've already heard it. I was on it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So today's topic, I'm sure people are tuning in for this topic because any fan of Disney that goes to any of the parks, one of the things that, well, let's face it sucks, is the rising costs. So Dan and I did some severe research. I talked to a bunch of disgruntled employees that gave me insider tips. I talked to travel agents. I scoured the darkest parts of the web. And I think if you do all these tips that Dan and I are going to tell you, Disney's going to pay you to go.
Yeah, there's some where you will actually get money back from using these tips. And you know what the best part about these tips are, Stan? Is that, we've been doing our own podcast for a couple of years now. I've been a big member of the Disney community for a long time, and I have not seen any of these tips ever given. So these are going to be first time tips for all listeners.
Yeah. Keep in mind, you might not be able to stay at the resort you want,
but you're not going to be staying at value. You're going to be property at either moderate,
and Dolphin, or whatever the deluxe resorts, which I'll take. What about you?
Yeah. Hey, you broke up there. There's something wrong with the Zoom? Was the Zoom okay there?
Hang on. Did you? I thought I heard something.
No, it sounded like we were getting Zoom bombed or something, but
no, Zoom's secure. There's no way anybody's breaking into Zoom.
Okay.
It's fine. They used to have problems, but no, it's fine. We're good. I thought I heard that there. No, it's good. No, we'll just continue. Okay, so anyways, what were we talking about? Tips. Yes. So I'm doing these next trip for sure.
Yeah, I have a trip planned in a couple months. I already started implementing some of these tips, and trust me, I'm already saving money.
Yeah. So Dan, you're the guest here. I'll let you start us off with your. Are we doing top three? Are you going to do your number 3 or your number 1 tip first?
I'll do my 3 first. This is a good one, but it's not the best one. But it's solid that we could all use.
You got to listen to the end to get our best tips in.
Yeah, make sure you stay to the end, not like Stan.
yeah. I might listen to the end of this one, but and write down the ones that you said, because these are going to be good. I can hardly wait. Okay, so Dan, what's your number 3 then?
All right. So you just want me to start, and I'll tell you my first one.
Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. So this one is awesome. So before you go on your trip, you need.
I get.
You hear me?
Disney.
So, Stan never listens to the show to the very end. I never realized that. Welcome to another episode of The Solo Show. The Age of Ken begins now. Hey, listen, nobody tell him, nobody text him, keep off of Facebook. He'll never know, right? The Age of Ken has begun. So that topic that Dan and Stan were talking about didn't really float my boat. So we'll maybe cover that some other day or something like that. I want to talk about Disney music. I want to talk about some of the Disney songs. Let's face it, Disney has a reputation for some of the best music in film and television. And I think it's time we devoted a show to it. And I thought to myself, if you're going to do a show devoted to music, especially Disney music, there's only one person you can have, and I wouldn't pick anybody other than this guy to have as my first guest on the Solo Show. And I want to welcome him. You've been here now, what? This is your 3rd appearance on the Solo Show, right?
Is it safe to come out now? I've been hiding under the bed the whole time.
Yeah. Come on out now. It's safe.
Oh man. It was cramped under there. Yeah, this is my 3rd time on the show, but my first time in the Age of Ken.
That's correct. Anyway, let's make sure everybody knows. I don't think you need any introduction, but he's the host of Goff Stock every Friday night. If you're not watching it, what the heck's the matter with you? Jeremy Goff, welcome aboard. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you so much for having me. Stan's had me on, but I've really been waiting to be on with you. And since we know he doesn't listen to the show anyway, he's not going to hear this, but it's really an honor.
Well, thank you very much. And I'm really glad you're my first guest. I thought we could talk today. I wanted to talk about Disney music, Disney songs, Disney scores, that sort of thing. And I thought if we go into all of the Disney music, if we go down that rabbit hole, we're going to be here till sometime in July. Right. So I thought maybe we could condense it a little bit and let's talk about our top 5 favorite Disney songs.
Sure.
I think that's kind of where we're going to go. Now, I wanted to say, it should be noted, this list is only our opinions. And if we miss one of your favorites on our list, or if you don't agree with us, please, no picketing outside the Solo Studios.
Well, you can pick it outside of Stan's house.
Well, yeah, that's good. I'll be listing the address at the end of the show.
Yeah. Stay tuned.
So Jeremy, you're the guest. Why don't you get us started here?
All right, so I went in the realm of Disney movies to consolidate, because if we go into the parks, it's going to get super crazy. And like you said, Stan's going to wonder why he has a 48-hour podcast show come out.
Exactly.
But so my number 5 favorite Disney movie song is "Go the Distance" from Hercules.
Oh, I love that one. I didn't even think of any of the music from Hercules. There's some good stuff.
I think it's a really underrated movie. It was in one of those sections of Disney movie history that kind of gets overlooked a lot, I think. And it's a great song. It's uplifting. The movie itself, the score is fantastic. So I love everything about that. Like the style of it, I think is a little different. The animation is a little different than a lot of other movies. And I think a lot of people just overlook that one, and you really shouldn't, because it's a great movie.
No, you're absolutely right. And one of the things that, like you say, it's a little different stylistically, musically. It's got kind of a Motown sound to some of the songs.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm trying desperately to think of the name of the song that the three Fury, or not Furies, the three
right.
Sing, and it's got very much that whole girl group kind of a sound.
Bless My Soul, Herc is on a Roll. That one.
That's the one.
Yeah.
That's the one.
I think it might be called Bless My Soul.
That sounds like the right one. Yes. Okay. Well, listen, I absolutely agree with you. And seeing as how you, I don't know, you got your guitar handy. If you wanted to throw in a snippet every now and then, I would not say no. But if you don't want to start with that one, I've got my number 5 here, and I think it's going to surprise you. I found when I was making my list, a couple of the songs are pretty obscure. So my in no particular order, but we got to start somewhere. My number 5 is, and how appropriate, "Everybody Wants to Be a Cat" from the Aristocats. That one was composed by Floyd Huddleston and Al Rinker. It was sung by Phil Harris, who had just voiced the role of Baloo in The Jungle Book, and would voice Little John in Robin Hood for Disney as well. That's always been one of my favorites.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with that movie. I've seen it, but it's been a long time. I'm gonna have to pull it up on Disney Plus.
Absolutely, you should. You absolutely should. I just love that voice, and I got a little fun fact for all of my songs here. We'll throw this in. The guy that co-wrote the song, Al Rinker, actually started his music career when he was a teenager. He was working with a very young Bing Crosby.
Oh wow!
So that's my number 5. Number 4, what do you got?
So it's a tough list, and from day to day, these could change. I'll watch a movie and no, that one's my favorite.
Yep.
So sometimes these aren't in necessarily the right order, but for me, the number 4 was "Friends on the Other Side" from Princess and the Frog.
Oh, another
one. I think it does get its due somewhat, but I don't think it's truly appreciated the way it should be. I think it's the last hand-drawn animated movie that they've done.
Yes,
if I'm not mistaken, right?
I'm pretty sure you're right.
Like just the whole New Orleans flair with the Dixieland thrown into the soundtrack is so good, and Dr. Facilier is at the top of my villains list. So I had to throw him in there. He's too cool.
It seems like Frog and the Princess came out just a little ways ahead of Frozen, if I'm not mistaken. It came out just before Frozen, and I think when Frozen became this massive worldwide hit, for Disney, I think it kind of got, you're right, it kind of got lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, my wife and I went to Disney World on our honeymoon 2010, and I hadn't seen the movie yet, but that's right when Princess and the Frog came out. So everything was pushing that movie. I'm like, I don't know. I'll get a magic shot with a frog in my hand. I didn't know, but I'm glad I did it now because I love the movie so much. I saw it shortly after we got back. I'm like, oh, I'm so glad we were there when they were pushing this movie until Frozen took over the world.
Yep. So like I say, you got your guitar there, and anytime you want to jump in with a song, maybe you're.
I'll jump in on after my next one here.
Okay, very good. I like that. My number 4 is one that's definitely forgotten. It goes back quite a ways, and it kind of shows my age when I talk about this one. And honestly, when I actually mentioned it to you, hitting my microphone there. I actually mentioned it to you the other night watching Goffstock. It's "Once Upon a Time in New York City" from Oliver and Company. It was written by Barry Mann. His lyrics were actually written for it by Howard Ashman, who, of course, wrote other Disney songs that are going to show up on the list. And my little fun fact for this one is that this was Howard Ashman's first song in his Disney library, and that's the only one he actually wrote without composer Alan Menken. Huey Lewis and the News recorded this one, as a matter of fact.
Really?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I haven't seen Oliver and Company. It's another one. So you're giving me a whole list of things about Disney Plus I got to go watch. when the
Oh
show's
yeah.
done.
Well, I saw it when it first came out in the theater, and I mean, we're talking early '80s here when it was first
Yeah.
released, and of course, I saw it when we hit video, of course, VHS and everything like that. I watched it a few times, and I hadn't watched it for, I want to say, probably a good 20 years after that. And for some reason, I dug it out again, and I thought, oh, this is actually a really, really good movie. I had kind of forgotten all about it, and I'm glad I dug it back out. It's a really wonderful movie.
Yeah, it's the first Disney movie I remember seeing in theaters was Fox and the Hound, and was Oliver and Company before that?
No, Fox and the Hound was 79, and I'm pretty sure Oliver and Company was actually their next release. I think it hit in about early 81 or 82, I think. No, it'd have to be a little later than that with Huey Lewis. So I'd say probably about 84.
Oh yeah, if it's Huey Lewis, unless it was like his debut song ever. Before he joined, before he had the news.
Yeah, exactly. It
was
would have
Huey
been
Lewis
probably
in the magazine before then, and then he had
Huey Lewis and your traffic report.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm gonna definitely have to look up Oliver and Company. It's one of those ones you don't think about it, if you don't go looking for it.
Yeah.
So now, I'll make these lists of all these classic movies. It's so nice on Disney Plus, just having them all there. You can just scroll through. I really like the decades features. So you can go back and oh, I've never seen that one, or I haven't seen it since I was a kid.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Like, honestly, one of my favorite things about Disney Plus is I'm seeing movies that I'm kind of going, oh yeah, we watched that when it first came out, and I probably haven't watched it since it was released on VHS. I don't know. I'm not even sure if it's been released on DVD or not. Right. But I probably haven't seen it or hadn't. I watched it recently. Hadn't seen it since sometime in the probably early 90s. And that's the wonderful thing about Disney Plus, is that it's kind of giving us a chance to see these movies again. I used to have all of these on VHS and everything like that.
Yeah.
I had a wall of
giant plastic bubble packages taking up a whole.
I was just gonna. You remember those
bigger than every other VHS that you owned.
Yep. I had some of them. And at one time, I remember this when I was younger. I remember comparing one of those VHS cases to actually a book I had of 3 plays by Shakespeare. And the VHS case was actually thicker than 3 plays by Shakespeare. That's how much space it takes up on your bookshelf.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't doubt it.
Number 3 for me is one I think everybody's going to recognize this one. If you don't, then you're definitely not a Disney fan. Bella Notte from Lady and the Tramp.
Mm-hmm.
One of my absolute favorites. His song was composed by Sonny Burke with lyrics by Peggy Lee. It was sung in the film by the actor who voiced Tony, George Giveau. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Tramp and Lady dining on spaghetti in what is probably one of the most iconic Disney moments.
Right.
The little nose touch there.
And how many times is that brought up in pop culture?
Yep. And how many times has it been duplicated too?
Yeah. I was watching something today and they were like, hey, let's Lady Tramp that last French fry. I'm like, everybody knows what that means. If you're, in the world of
yeah, exactly. And one of my fun fact for this one is Peggy Lee, a very well-known jazz musician and popular singer through the 40s, 50s, 60s. She actually voiced the character of Darling, Jim Deere's wife, and the voices of both Cy and Am, the Siamese cats.
Oh, wow.
So, just a little fun.
Did you get paid extra for that, or it's probably scale, right?
Yeah, probably. But you know what? I actually remember reading, I'm going to have to do a little research on that. I actually remember reading that came up that she felt because she was doing 3 characters, she should get paid 3 voices. It's like the fee for 3 voices.
Yeah. I bet you they did not do that back then.
Oh, no. Well, let's
you're hired. Here's your $250 an hour or whatever.
Here's your check. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, Walt Disney was known to be somewhat frugal, we shall say.
Yeah. Right.
What do you got for number 3?
Okay, my number 3. I'll play a little bit for it because everybody's gonna know it. So we'll do.
No doubt.
I'll start this way. You got a friend in me. You've got a friend in me. When the road looks rough ahead and you're miles and miles from your nice warm bed, just remember what your old pal said, boy, you've got a friend in me. Yeah, you've got a friend in me. So everybody knows that one.
Yeah.
You've got
That's another one like
from Toy Story, Randy Newman. It's a classic.
Yep. That's another one like Bella Notte. If you can't sing along to at least the chorus, and you've been living under a rock.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
That song actually was, if I remember correctly, if my memory serves me correctly, I'm pretty sure it was nominated for Oscar for Best Original Song, and I believe that would have been 96 or 97 that came out.
Yeah, something right in there somewhere. I'm trying to think of the exact date,
but
you remember like when Toy Story came out, looking at it, we're like, wait a minute, a computer did this?
Yep.
How was that even possible? I mean, you look at it now, it looks a little bit dated, but it still holds up. I mean, the story and the music is good enough, even if it were terrible animation, which it isn't by any means.
Mm-hmm.
But you just look, you can see how far it's come. That's like my benchmark of starting computer animation. You look at Toy Story, then you go to like Raya and the Last Dragon, and you look at the differences. Like, how was this only, like 20 years? It's like an entire different century. It just seems crazy how much they've grown, like leaps and bounds in such a relatively short amount of time.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Like the animation in the original Toy Story, I remember again watching it on VHS and so on. That's actually one I missed in the theater when it hit. I was living in northern Manitoba, and by the time it hit the theater, I'd already seen it on VHS and everything like that. But I remember watching the movie and thinking to myself, that is just like, there's moments in that you kind of have to stop and go, wait a minute, wait a minute, I'm watching a cartoon here.
Right.
Like, so especially the outdoor shots.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause you've never seen, shading like that before.
Yeah.
The 3D rendering, you're just like, whoa, what is this? What is happening here?
Yeah, exactly. Like I was so impressed with it. Randy Newman, of course, like you mentioned, wrote the song, also wrote the score for the film. And I think a few people now know, because I've mentioned it a couple of times, I'm a huge film score fan. I've got tons of soundtracks on LPs and CDs and cassettes and so on. And I had been a fan of Randy Newman's for a while as a songwriter, certainly Short People and so on.
Right.
And I had only heard a couple of his film scores. I think he did one in the early 80s for Ragtime, and then another one for The Natural. And I had really not followed his film score writing, but I was so amazed by the score that he wrote. Like, I'm sitting here thinking, like, this is John Williams quality. This is like Jerry Goldsmith quality.
Right.
And I was so impressed with that. And I thought, well,
a sleeper. You weren't expecting that from the Short People guy.
Exactly. It's exactly. I always picture him sitting there thumping it out on the piano. You ever seen that one episode of Family Guy where after the Holocaust, the only one that's left is like Randy Newman and Peter Griffin and his family, and they said, yeah, he just sits there at the piano and he just sings about whatever he sees people doing.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Left, right.
He has such an interesting voice to put them out as like a lead singer.
Yeah.
You are the friends of me. It's such a weird application,
exactly.
but you get so used to it. It's like, no, it's normal. If you heard anybody, like you went into a bar when a band was singing, you'd be like, what is going on here?
Yeah,
but
stop singing that.
Randy Newman doing it. It works.
Yeah. Kate, my number 2, I don't think is going to be a bunch of a surprise to anybody. I mean, it was a humongous hit. Movie was a humongous hit. The song was a humongous hit. Number 2 for me was Beauty and the Beast from the film. Music by Alan Menken and lyrics again by Howard Ashman. Performed in the film by Angela Lansbury in the role of Mrs. Potts. The songs and scores, they dominated the 1991 Oscar nominations. They actually got 3 nominations for Best Original Song, for Beauty and the Beast, for Be Our Guest, and I believe the other one was for Belle, if my memory serves me. Beauty and the Beast, of course, the song won for Best Original Score, and the studio did a popular version of the song by Peabo Bryson and Celine Dion in 1992. Song went up the top 100 to number 5. My fun fact for this one, though, is the scene in the song where Angela Lansbury tells her son Chip, run along to the cupboard now. That was actually improvised by Angela Lansbury. And Menken and Ashman liked that so much that they just said, we're leaving that in as part of the song. They were just, that was, she just felt it was appropriate to say that she'd be telling him, okay, run along now, your bedtime, But
what are you going to tell Angela Lansbury she can't do that? No.
Yeah, exactly. Who's going to tell her? She's going to be like, yeah, I'm done.
Like, cut it, Angela. No, you read what's written. That's it.
Yeah, that's going to happen. Yeah, that's really going to happen. I got to say, I actually prefer the Angela Lansbury version to the Peebo Bryson Celine Dion one. I mean, I'm a big Celine Dion fan just because I'm Canadian. I have to be. It's in the contract.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, go Canada. But I have to admit, like, there's a video online. You can probably find it fairly easily. It's when they did the 25th anniversary of Beauty and the Beast hitting theaters. They had Alan Menken at the theater on Broadway, and he was playing some songs live. And they sort of surprised the crowd. Angela Lansbury strolls out and she sings Beauty and the Beast, probably for the first time in 20 years, with just Howard Ashman playing piano. Mm-hmm. Or I mean, Alan Menken playing piano. And it sends chills down my spine. The first time I saw it, it just actually gave me goosebumps because I'm just thinking this is a moment in history.
Right.
And yeah. I honestly do prefer the Angela Lansbury version of the song.
Yeah, I feel like in the 80s, 90s, Peebo Bryson did Disney buy him? They were just like, all right, what's the song from the movie? Get Peebo and somebody. Get him in here.
Yeah, exactly. Whoever else is on the chart, get them into.
Yeah.
You know, you got to say, though, I mean, Peebo Bryson at least can sing.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of his music, but I will give credit where it's due. And the same with Celine Dion. I got to give credit where it's due. They can sing.
Yes. I don't know if I know anything other from Peebo Bryson than what he's done for Disney movies. So,
you know, that's a good
That's
question.
why I know the name. So
that's a good point. I may have to look some of that up.
I will say, I don't know if you have done any Disney cruises, but if you do, have you been on the Dream?
I am a complete, as I've told Stan, I am a complete Disney virgin where it comes to being on cruises, on trips. I haven't made it to any of the theme parks yet. I haven't been on any of the cruises. That's kind of a life goal for me now.
Yeah.
I figure maybe if he ever talks to me again after stealing his show, I might just let Stan plan a trip for me someday.
Well, I mean, when he gets the highest ratings he's ever had from the show, he won't know why.
Yeah.
We'll know why. He'll be like, "Oh my God, this is great!" And then
this is great. What's going on? How come I'm
getting
all
get
these?
A raise, honestly.
I'm getting all these calls from sponsors. Like people want to,
right?
All of a sudden,
Nike
I'm getting
shoes. Okay.
Yeah. What the heck? How come we're getting calls from?
Yeah. So if you get a chance to do a Disney cruise and you end up on the Disney Dream, we did a cruise. Our first Disney cruise on the Dream shortly before COVID. It was December of 2019. They do a production of Beauty and the Beast in the theater that is jaw dropping. To see it anywhere would be amazing, but the fact that you're on this gigantic ship in the middle of the ocean and you're getting a Broadway caliber play, it's incredible. They have like automatically moving sets, like the set pieces just slide out of the way, they come up out of the floor. It's crazy. And then you add in, all that amazing music that everybody knows. It's something that has to be seen.
That really definitely sounds like something I would enjoy. I mean, I always heard that the Broadway versions of Beauty and the Beast and all of them really. I mean, they did Lion King was a huge hit on Broadway, so was Beauty and the Beast.
Right.
And I always wanted to see them. I had always kind of hoped that I'd get a chance to see some of them on Broadway, maybe someday. Who knows?
Yeah. No, I've never seen any of the Broadway ones myself, unfortunately.
I think that leaves you doing your. Well, actually, I got a couple of honorable mentions. And did you pick any honorable?
I still have.
Oh, you haven't done your number 2. That's right. I'm getting ahead of myself. That's right.
So I'll do my number 2, and then are you doing honorable mentions and then number 1?
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay. Let's do that.
All right. So my number 2. So the Broadway thing kind of segues into this one a little bit because they were working on a Broadway production of this film, which is my favorite Disney animated film of all time, Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Oh,
so the song I picked was the first song in the movies, The Bells of Notre Dame, which is, to me, it really summed up the entire movie, the feel of it, the score, everything. It starts with the choir intro, singing in Latin or German or Swedish, whatever it is, I don't know languages. So, so it starts with the choral and then Clopan comes in singing his part and just everything about it. That movie gives me chills so many times. Like they used a little bit of computer animation in there. It was just starting to come around. They used it for some of the crowd scenes, and you can kind of tell now. But the whole feel of that movie to me, it's a beautiful movie. Again, I've said this 50 times already in this podcast, but it's an overlooked movie for sure. Go back and watch Hunchback of Notre Dame. It is so good. And speaking of the Broadway aspect, so they were working on it. COVID happened. The whole world fell apart. Go onto Spotify. There is a cast album from it. It is so good. They wrote a few new songs for it, start to finish. I literally teared up a few times listening to the soundtrack. It's so beautiful. So Bells to Notre Dame, my number 2 from my all-time favorite Disney animated film.
That a fantastic choice, and I completely agree. And you're right. I mean, the sad thing about this is I think a lot of these late 80s, early 90s movies have been kind of pushed aside by the whole Pixar thing from the time that Toy Story took off, and then they had the next big hit was Bug's Life, and then Toy Story 2. And I mean, back to back for a while, it seemed like every year there was another Pixar movie coming out.
Right.
And people kind of forgot about the traditional animated ones that they were doing. And I think they might have missed out on some really spectacular stuff. Like you say, Hunchback of Notre Dame is another one that I think a lot of people don't think about when they talk about Disney movies.
Mm-hmm.
And it's unfortunate.
There were so many. Like, you figure back when like Little Mermaid came out, there was a little bit of breathing room between movies, and then it was Pixar's boom, boom, movies everywhere. Other studios with animated films, and things just kind of get lost in white noise. And there are some real gems in there to go back and find.
Oh, absolutely. And again, one of the good things, I mean, we should be getting a call from Disney Plus anytime now that they want to sponsor the show too.
Right.
Because honestly, they're the reason I've seen a few of these things for the first time. I've seen them, like I say, probably 20 years.
Yeah. Well, they made it so easy. It's so accessible, and it's all right there. You know, before Netflix would have a movie here and there, never the one you wanted to see. And Disney Plus is like, no, here's everything.
Yeah. And you know what's funny about it is I was talking to my sister recently, and I was talking about Disney Plus, and I watch it a lot. And she's like, don't you have all those movies on DVD? And I'm like, yeah, but they're all the way downstairs. Here, I just have to push play.
Yeah, I have most of them on DVD and Blu-ray right next to my TV. I'm like, but that requires getting up.
Yeah. Well,
I'll give you your $7 a month or whatever it is just to not get off my couch.
Exactly. I've already got my popcorn. I've already settled into my chair. I've got my feet up. I don't have to get up again. You know, it's funny. It's a sort of reasonably funny story. I was watching, just because I haven't seen it in a long time, I watched Superman Returns last night. The one technically takes place after Christopher Reeve. And I started watching it on Netflix. And I'm thinking, I have this on DVD, and it's literally across the room from me. Like, I even have it up here right next to my TV. And I'm going, why don't I just put in the DVD? And I thought just exactly what you said. That's because I'd have to get up. I'd have to set down my popcorn. I'd have to set down my drink. It's just not worth it.
I'll tell kids about the problems that I had growing up. We had a Laserdisc player. I don't know if you've ever had one of those.
Yep.
Sometimes a movie was on 2 discs on both sides of that disc. Yep. And you had to get out and flip the disc over if you didn't have a fancy Laserdisc player that could do it automatically.
That's right. I remember
Braveheart.
that.
Braveheart was 2 full double-sided laser discs that weighed 16 pounds apiece.
Yep.
And when you started up the Laserdisc player, it sounded like a jet engine. You had to like put gasoline in it before you started up, then just and you couldn't hear the movie over it, so you just had to pretend what they were saying. But that's kids, you have it good, okay?
Yep. And a fun fact that not a lot of people realize: you can actually use a laser disc if your car gets a flat tire. You can actually use one of those to get you to the next town.
Yeah, absolutely. Except it'll probably cut through the road because they were so strong. They were made out of adamantium. A lot of people think that doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's
where it came from.
That's true. Yeah, that's a silver lining. I go back as far as I think you and I are roughly in the same age neighborhood. The very first VCR I ever had was I actually had a corded remote. I don't know if you remember those.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
it had 3 functions on it. You could play, pause, play, fast forward, and rewind, and that was it. You couldn't do anything else. I think it had a pause button too. It might have had play, pause, and that was it. You couldn't hit record. You couldn't do anything.
$1,500.
Yep. Yes, that's exactly right. It was a Magnavox, and I'm pretty sure my mom paid something like $1,300 for it.
I believe we rented our first VCR. We didn't even buy it first. We're like, we can't get that. We rented it, and then I remember one of the first things I remember watching on a VHS tape was a bootleg of E.T. And it was 58th generation. It was so dark you could barely hear it, but I was like, oh my God, this is a movie that's like, it was out in a theater and I'm watching it in my house, sort of. Incredible.
And you got to wonder how people snuck their VHS camcorders into the movie theater.
I don't know.
I had one of those when I used to have a little events company where I'd tape people's weddings and that sort of thing. This was back when I was like in my 20s. And I had one of those things, and that sucker, those things are huge.
Yeah.
It was as big as a boat anchor.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking to myself, there's no way you can sneak this into a theater. I mean, nowadays your cell phone, everybody's got 3 cell phones. Okay, you took my first one. Well, I'll use this other one.
Right. Exactly. You didn't need back support and a truss system and all kinds of other things to get your recorder into the movie theater.
Yep. I always figured when you see these bootleg VHS, I figured it had to be somebody that, worked there. And, my buddy let me in at night and,
Right.
after everybody went home, it had to be.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've kind of strayed a little bit off topic there, but it's good to talk to somebody who recognizes my references. Let's put it that way. The kids I work with, they all kind of go, "What's a VHS?"
Yeah. They're like, why didn't you just go on the internet? And then you try to,
exactly.
They didn't have internet and they just walk away.
Yeah. Didn't have internet. Well, I tried the internet once when I was a kid, but the hamster kept dying. So,
right. Yep.
Okay. So yeah, we were going to do our number ones here, but I do have a couple honorable mentions. I mean, if we, like we said earlier, if we list every Disney song ever, we'd be here till sometime in July. But one of the ones I had to mention, and I really struggled with wanting this on the top 5 list, and I had to kind of go back and forth, is A Friend Like Me from Aladdin, Robin Williams. That I think is the absolute high point, and I don't even want to talk about the Will Smith version of.
No, please.
Yeah, that's the less said, the better. A Friend Like Me is, to me, I think that's the high point of the movie.
Absolutely.
I remember thinking, and the thing of it was, Robin Williams, not a singer, not by any stretch of the imagination. You mentioned Randy Newman earlier. I mean, Robin Williams, not a singer.
Right.
My other, again, it's kind of strange to put this on an honorable mention. I think most people would probably have this in their number 2 or 1 spot. I got to say, The Bare Necessities. Love that song. Always was one of my favorites. And I mentioned the other night, if you listen to the 50th episode of the Solo Show, and you got to stick around right till the end, it kind of tells you how much I love that song is. And just that's one of the great voiceover artists and one of the great character actors of all time, Phil Harris. If you ever look up his resume, you'll see he's got probably 200 movies on his resume, voiceover stuff as well as on-screen appearances. One of the best character actors of the 50s, 60s, and early 70s, and his work in Jungle Book, to me, is definitely one of the highlights. That, and of course, it would have been tied. It would either been that and I Want to Be a Man Cub.
Oh yeah,
Stroll right into
like
town.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest Jungle Book fan, but those 2 songs, they make it for me.
Yeah.
I would watch it just for those 2 songs.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Like I'm pretty sure I'm fairly sure that's probably the very first Disney movie I ever saw in a theater, one of the re-releases.
Nice. So I'll do a couple of honorable mentions here. One of them I hadn't thought about in a long time. Somebody brought it up recently on Golf Stock, and thinking about it, I'm like, it's such a great song. It's called Our Town from Cars by James Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a good song. I'll play a little bit for you.
Please
It's a beautiful song. Long ago, not so very long ago, world was different. Oh yes, it was. Settled down and you built a town and you made it there, and you watched it grow. It was your town. Yeah, I never thought about like the emotional point of that movie is really, it's that song.
Yeah.
As soon as I heard it again, when I went and listened to it on its own, I was like, wow, it literally brought me right back to that movie. And I started having those feelings again. And it's a beautiful song.
Yeah. Well, James Taylor, very, very light artist. I mean, but some amazing stuff that he's done, like definitely light rock.
Right. Yeah. My other honorable mention was going to be, I Want to Be Like You. So.
Oh, perfect.
Just because it's such a good song.
It is.
It was almost in the top 5. But again, when you start narrowing these down, you got to make some tough choices.
Yep. Okay, I think we're going to head for number one here, or were you going to play a couple of seconds for us?
I'll play when I do my my number one. I'll play number one for you.
Perfect.
So if you want to go first.
Okay. Well, I say we should wake the kids, call the neighbors, put your cell phones on airplane mode. Here is the number one song from our Disney list, my Disney list anyway, compiled by the Home Office in Antigonish, Nova Scotia. Number one, and you know what? This was an easy one. This for me was an easy one. This was the first song on my list. When You Wish Upon a Star from Pinocchio. Music by Lee Harline and lyric by Ned Washington, originally sung by Cliff Edwards in the character of Jiminy Cricket, heard in the opening credits and played again over the closing as well. Song won the 1940 Academy Award for Best Original Song, and actually, here's one of your fun facts, was the very first Disney song to win an Academy Award. The iconic song has become, well, it is the Disney song. I mean, you hear it in the logo over the opening of all their films and everything like that. Just an amazingly beautiful song. I heard a few years back, I have a CD of it, where it's performed by choir and the London Symphony Orchestra and I believe it's the London Voices. And just this amazing version of it. And it's one of those songs that you can do it kind of as a slow jazz song. You can do it as a ballad. It works as a choir. It works as an orchestra. It's just, I think, one of the best songs of all time, not just for a Disney music song, but one of my favorite songs of all time.
Yeah, that's a beautiful song, and you hear it in the parks a lot in various ways. So much I don't really think about it being from Pinocchio, but I always think of Jiminy Cricket when I hear it. So then it brings it back. Yeah, it's an amazing song that is really, you can adjust it for any style of music and it works.
Yeah, I've heard artists, everybody from, like you say, Disney artists and choirs to, I think, didn't Michael Bolton do a version of it sometime in the 90s as well, or something like that? So
probably Peebo Bryson.
No,
his entire album of just that song.
Yeah, well, actually, I wouldn't mind that. That would be okay. What do you got for number one?
My number one?
I'd say we are.
All right. I will play it for you, and then we can talk about it a little bit. Early each day to the steps of St. Paul's, little old bird woman comes in her own special way to the people she calls. Come buy my bags full of crumbs. Come feed the little birds, show them you care, and you'll be glad if you do. Their young ones are hungry, their nests are so bare. All it takes is tuppence from you. Feed the birds, tuppence a bag, tuppence, tuppence, tuppence a bag. Feed the birds, that's what she cries, while overhead her birds fill the skies. All around the cathedral, the saints and apostles look down as she sells her wares. Although you can't see it, you know they are smiling each time someone shows that they care. Though her words are simple and few, listen, listen, she's calling to you. Feed the birds, tuppence a bag, tuppence, tuppence, tuppence a bag. So that, of course, the amazing Sherman Brothers from Mary Poppins, Feed the Birds, Walt Disney's favorite song that he would constantly make them play. Like he would just keep them in his office and go, now. And they would have to start playing it. They had 5 seconds to start or else.
Yep. Okay, quickly. No, I couldn't agree with you more. And what we were saying earlier about trying to figure out our list, I wanted so much to put, pretty much the entire score of Mary Poppins on the list. And you could do a whole top 10 list of just the songs from Mary Poppins. There's so many of them. And honestly, that's probably why I hesitated to put any of them on. I think maybe some future show, now that we are in the era of Ken. Maybe we'll do another show, and maybe you'll come and join us again, and we'll do an entire show, maybe just talk about the incredible music from Mary Poppins. One of the things I don't think a lot of people really realized, Mrs. Travers, that wrote the books, was absolutely dead set against them ever being turned into films. And apparently it took Walt Disney something like 20 years to finally wear her down.
Yeah.
And one of the things I learned from the film, because I did a little research afterwards, after I saw the film Saving Mr. Banks, was when she heard Feed the Birds, Tuppence. That was sort of the song that sort of put her on the page.
Yeah. Yeah. How could it not? Honestly, once you hear that, song. Here, a little interesting side note on P.L. Travers. Real name, Goff. So that's all I'm saying. She could have done the original Goff stock. She didn't. But I don't know if you've ever heard. I had the special edition of the Mary Poppins soundtrack, and it might be on Spotify with some of the bonus tracks where they actually have some of her recordings.
Oh yes, I've heard some of those. Yeah,
they're brutal. They did not exaggerate in Saving Mr. Banks. If anything, they underplayed it a little bit.
Yeah, I think Emma Thompson was much nicer than P.L. Travers ever was. But honestly, like that score, I think that to me is probably one of the best scores and songs for any film of all time. And I mean, I'm talking like Wizard of Oz. I'm talking The King and I'm talking Rodgers and Hammerstein, basically their whole catalog. And I think a lot of people tend to forget. They think about supercalifragilistic and so on like that. And they tend to forget there's some really beautiful songs in that film. Mm-hmm. And that one that you just performed is definitely one of them. And I got to tell you, I love your version of it. The solo guitar just seems to lend itself to that song just beautifully.
Yeah, I like to set the mood with that one, really laid back. One of my favorite performances of that song, I don't know, again, we keep going back to Disney Plus on this. They better sponsor us soon. I don't know if you watched Prop Culture. There was an episode about Mary Poppins, and Richard Sherman went in and played the piano in Walt's office and played that song. Like, oh my God.
Yep. Tears.
Here come the tears.
Here come the tears. Who's cutting onions again? Put those damned onions away.
Such a beautiful moment.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. And let's face it, the Sherman brothers were, for a long time, sort of the in-house composers for Disney. I mean, Bedknobs and Broomsticks and some songs that they did, 1 or 2 songs for the film and that sort of thing. I love Bedknobs and Broomsticks. That's another one of their fun scores from the late 60s.
I just watched that again maybe a couple months ago. I don't think I had seen it since I was a kid.
Yeah. And again, Angela Lansbury.
Yeah.
And again.
Right.
And David, I can't think of his last name right now, who played the father, who played Mr. Banks in Mary Poppins as well.
Oh, yeah. That's true, too.
David Tomlinson. There's his name. So that, and I mean, we've barely scratched the surface here, and we've been doing this now for 40 minutes or so, roughly, give or take. There's so much more, and I do think that there's a part 2 and a part 3 and maybe even a part 4, as we are now in the era of Ken.
That's what I keep, when you say that, I hear that in my head, the echoes.
I kind of wanted to do sort of like the Lou Gehrig thing, today I consider myself so. I think, when we do more of these shows further down the road, now that I've kidnapped the show, we're going to have you back on at least 5 more times and talk about the film scores and more of the songs and this sort of thing. There's even, I think, a show in there for some of the worst songs from Disney films too.
Ooh, yeah, that would be a fun one. But, like Peebo Bryson, I'm always here for you. You just call and I will come running out and do a cover of whatever song.
No, that's James Taylor. You just call out my name whenever you got.
Well, that too.
This has been a lot of fun.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey,
Thanks for
Guy,
having me. Oh, wait,
what
is
are you
that?
guys doing in the solo studio? What's going on here?
Hey, hi, Stan.
Ken,
How's it going?
Don't tell him. I'm here.
Jeremy, what's happening?
Ken said it was okay.
Ken, what's going on?
Listen, I have to go home now. My dad's calling.
It's great to see you guys, but what are you guys doing here?
Oh,
Talking?
just talking. Yeah, we're just talking. We didn't touch your booze.
Okay, you left Dad's liquor cabinet alone, did you?
Well, do you think it's time that you should talk to Jeremy? I think you need to ask Jeremy something, don't
Jeremy,
you?
what's I see you got your guitar, Jeremy. What's you gonna play me a song or what's happening here?
Yeah, I guess I'll do one more for you.
Okay.
Hi ho, it's April Fool's, you know. So think about what's going on. This song should be a great big clue for you. So what you gonna do? Don't pout or cry or say goodbye, because you know it's what we do. We knew you wouldn't think it true. So happy April Fool's Day from the Solo Show to you. So happy April Fool's Day from the Solo Show to you. To you.
Ken, take it away.
Just before the closing of the show, and if I may beg your indulgence, so many have lost loved ones during the pandemic. I joined that sad, still growing collection of people on December 3rd of 2020. My mother, Mavis Skidmore, passed away after a brief illness. My family and I were deeply saddened, and she is still greatly missed. She was always very supportive, and I know she would have loved hearing me host the solo show. So thank you to Stan for permitting me to dedicate this edition of the show to Mama Duck. If you have a brilliant idea for a future edition of the Solo Show and would like to take your turn in the guest host's chair, then drop us an email at thesoloshow01@gmail.com. Tell us your idea for the show, and we'll contact you about a date and a time for you to join us. If you would just like to keep the conversation going or have a comment about a previous show, then visit us on Facebook at The Solo Show. All logos, sounds, and songs that are made by and for Disney and its affiliates are owned solely by the Disney Corporation and are not, nor are they intended to be, the ownership of The Solo Show podcast. We hope you'll join us for the next adventure on The Solo Show. Thanks for listening, and bye for now.